to the Young Dad Podcast. I'm your host, Jay, and whether you're outside grilling, mowing the lawn, maybe you're inside changing dirty diapers, or maybe, just maybe, you got a moment to sit back, relax, put the podcast on the old living room TV, or maybe on your headphones while you're gaming or something. I don't know what you're doing, wherever you're at, whatever you're doing. Thanks for being here. Thanks for tuning in. And of course, I'm glad you're here. Today, I am joined by Kevin, one half of the minds behind Wisest Learners, guiding your child's athletic journey between them. Kevin and Alex, that is. We're not joined by Alex tonight, but Kevin is a seasoned coach, dad, author. Him and Alex have coached at elite levels, led schools, raised kids in youth sports, and now they're bringing a fresh perspective to what it means to be a parent in today's ultra competitive youth sports world. So make sure you grab your juice box, grab a snack, and let's jump into the conversation today with Kevin. Kevin, welcome.
I appreciate you having me today. I look forward to it. I know we've had this on the books for a while, so I'm real excited. I'm glad I get to be here. I know my buddy Alex, he wasn't able to make it, and he would love to be here as well. And so, yeah, I'm just excited to be here. Thanks again for having me.
Course, man. I'm excited too. Yeah, it was one of those things that's on the books for a while. Most of my shows are booked pretty far out, and the calendar fills up quick. When you do one a day, the amount of people that want to record is surprising. The amount of emails is really surprising, and then the amount of people that don't show up is even more surprising. It's like you reached out to me. You wanted to be on the show. Like I rarely go after guests anymore. Most of my guests come to me some way, shape, or form, which is really cool because I remember once upon a time where it was a struggle to get guests on the show and to claw and fight tooth and nail. So how things come full circle is really cool.
Well, I can tell you, I showed up twice because I actually originally had it penciled in because I misread it. I showed up on June 29th. And so I was sitting there waiting, and I looked and I reached out to our team and they're like, Kevin, it's next month. I'm like, oh, okay. So I showed up twice for you. That's a
Love it. Show good showed up. It was so good showed up twice. I love that. I don't even where was I June 29th? I honestly probably could have recorded. Oh, it was a Sunday. So yeah, I used to record on weekends. I actually stopped recording on weekends, I think, beginning of this year, and I just started recording during the week. Um, I used to like go crazy on weekends too. I would do a couple in the morning, then maybe one at night, and I was like, yeah, it's taking away a little bit too much time from other things, trying to play NCAA and things like that. So priority shifted, things like that, of course. So you gotta stay in it.
it's all good. I'm glad I'm here today.
Me too. Well, enough about the back end stuff. Fun fact that the listeners probably didn't need to know is I almost didn't hit record after I hit the music. I looked down and I saw that it didn't say stop and there was no red button at the top. I was like, oh, should probably hit that. But regardless, let's talk about U Sports because I have some thoughts on U Sports and kind of where we're at today in 2025 versus how I was raised and whatnot back in the 90s and early 2000s, growing up. I was thinking about this too because I've done some coaching. I've coached baseball. I've coached some teenage baseball. I've coached so, some different levels and whatnot of different sports. And there's like this culture around sports now. First, I guess how did you guys get into to doing what you're doing now? We'll talk about the story and then I'll bring up some of the things I wanna jump into when it comes to youth sport.
Well, let me first say that Alex and I are dads first. And so that's where we approach this. And when you read our book, we don't come at it as we are the so-called experts in the fix-all of youth sports. Because if so, then I know that we already be millionaires because that's something everybody wants is to fix all the youth sports. So we're really just approaching this in a way that we're dads and we came together, we have a bunch of research, and we're just taking that and giving it to parents in a way that is edible, practical, and reflective. And so at the end of every chapter, there's reflection questions because we're not saying, so like our very first chapter is values, and we talk about values. We aren't telling you what values to have. We're not telling you you need to have this value in order to so that your kid could go get the athletic scholarship that you want for them. That's not the direction of our books. We're saying, hey, as a family, you have values. You need to identify those values, make sure those values line up to what you want as a family, and how does youth sports connect all that? And at the end of the day, that your kids are living out the values that you have. And so then it becomes reflective in that. So, like I said, it's not prescriptive. We're saying you need to have a value of hard work as a parent, and then pass it on to your kids. Now, we could sit here and say, hey, a value of hard work is really important for youth sports, but that's not what we're saying at. We're approaching is, hey, you need to look at your values as a family, identify those values, and then seeing if youth sports is reflecting those values in your families. And so that's the approach of really the whole book of and why we got into this. Again, Alex and I are dads. We wrote this book over about an 18-month period, and it's impacted our parenting. It's impacted, I'll speak on my behalf, my parenting. It's like there's stuff is like, oh man, Kevin, you got to read your own book, dude. Like, yeah, just writing, you got to read it, right? Like, there's some stuff in there where I'll just blow it. So, anyways, that's our approach. Is we're dads, and we had a ton of research in there. We have experience. Alex was a tremendous, tremendous coach overseas. He coached on the Philippine national team. Wonderful basketball player. I have coaching experience myself. I played college basketball. We both played college basketball. We both played overseas. Point being is there's a lot of experience there from being high level athletes. But at the end of the day, we're dads, and we really want to make sure youth sports is beneficial for not only our kids but others. So there's a baseline of why we did what we did.
I I can relate a lot to a lot of things there. I never played like professionally or overseas or anything like that. The highest level I got to was D3 baseball. But at the same time, like that's still even so rare, right? Like just getting to any level of collegiate athlete is still so rare and so just something to be proud of. And I can really resonate with a lot of what you're saying, right? Because like we're dads first, but we also want to make sure we're giving back to our kids, but also all the other kids on the team as well, to making sure they're picking up a lot of good, I guess, good habits, good morals, good sportsmanship. I think is absolutely huge. While also cultivating, like I think my kids are younger, of course, right? So we're still in the early days of a lot of youth sports, but really just cultivating like that love of the game, right? And I feel like that love of the game is killed really, really quickly today. Like there's a lot of pressure from a really young age to win, to become a ranked third grader in the nation, uh, and be reclassifying for class of 2036 already in 2025, kind of thing, 11 years out. And what blows my mind is that there's rankings for first graders, right? Like there's rankings for 6 year olds and all the way up through high school and whatnot, and kids are chasing that dream, but sometimes it's not their dream that they're chasing, um, and whatnot. So I guess that kind of leads me to the first place I want to go here is just talking about the parental engagement cycle. That you guys talk about a little bit and what intentional parenting in sports looks like, because I think there's a very, very fine line in that. Even going down from my experience coaching in t-ball, there's a fine line.
Yeah. No, and so I think as parent, when we approach this, what youth sports is, we need to ask ourselves, what do we want out of this? All right, defining our success. And I will tell you that you're setting yourself up and your kids up for failure when success is only a college scholarship or a professional athlete. And I say that because the numbers and the evidence is there of how many kids actually go play college sports. Depending on the sport, it's about 2%. It's not a high success rate. And so now we step back as a parent is why are we putting our kids into this? And I have to share a story, and this is a non-sports story that still impacted my life. Then I still apply to sports. So I was driving with a buddy of mine, and I had a 4-year-old at the time, kind of like you, and it was my oldest son, and he was doing something at home, and I was very frustrated. And after I was done venting to him, he said to me, "Kevin, you don't need a perfect 4-year-old. You're raising somebody to be a fully functioning adult." And it's always sat with me because, right, as a parent, sometimes we get stuck as, oh man, that my 6-year-old is doing this. Well, goodness gracious, he's 6, right? And so for you, sports, taking kind of that story and taking it to what is my goal here is my parental goal is I want to have a fully functioning adult, to raise a fully functioning adult who's an asset to society and the people around him, right? Like that's my parenting goal. I think it's a pretty common goal amongst parents is we want them to be an asset to society. They want to be fully functioning where they can get out the house, they can have a family, and they are an asset to society and the people around them. Now, you can define that a little bit more focused based on your values and your experiences, but I think it's just a general, a good one. Now, youth sports can really help in that, right? Hard work, dedication, perseverance, sportsmanship, teamwork, all those things help you become a fully functioning adult who's an asset to society and the people around you. And when we approach youth sports as something of getting to the end goal of what our parenting destination is, it really helps us as we navigate those difficulties as we go into those things. And so the parent engagement cycle is really how do you engage with your kids? And the first thing is there is modeling. And how do you model what it looks like to interact with youth sports, right? And so one of the simple models is how do you react to referees as a parent, right? So how you interact with referees and how you show yourself to them is the exact same way that they're going to start doing it as well. So I
Yeah,
coach
I,
a
I
high
think that
school
also
of
goes for coaches as well, like how you as a parent interact with coaches, because like even as young as like t-ball and whatnot, there's parents that like contradict and they'll go against like everything the coach is trying to tell the kid to like do and whatnot, and it's like, dude, t-ball, he doesn't need to be crushing homers at this age. Like I'm just trying to get him to put his hands right, to make contact with the ball, to swing the bat without scaring himself, and have him run a bit and just learn the fundamentals of throwing a baseball and catching a baseball and learn like the very very basics. Like t-ballers are very capable. I think even the youngest level, like that t-ball kindergarten age, they're very very capable of learning that preschool kindergarten age. But you just have to give them a chance and whatnot. But when your parents are contradicting what your coach is saying to do, then you contradict what your coach is telling you to do.
and so as a parent and you're modeling that, right? Now let's if
Hmm.
we have the end in mind, if we're defining what our success is, again, at the end of the day, who cares if your kid in kindergarten is hitting home runs? You know, the skill that I want to my kindergarten to have is to listen to the coach intently, to look at the coach's eyes when he speaks, to do what the coach says that he asked me to do every single time. Like those, that's a stronger value that I have as a parent. And I pretty much most of the population has that same value that I have. But if we don't identify that value before I enter a youth sports, sometimes our values get mixed up, right? And as a parent, like, oh man, I really want little Johnny to hit that home run. Johnny, I know the coach said swing 50% because for whatever reason, that's the right swing speed for him, right? But Johnny, I want you to hit that ball as hard as you can, right? Because as a parent, we have this passion for our kid, right? We want him to succeed, and then there's a goodness there. But if we step back and go, hey, what do we really want to get from this? We really want, and whatever those things are. And so, again, being with parents, being with a lot of adults, and so I'm a head of school principal as well. So I spend a lot of time with parents and kids, and they all love their kids. They want the best for them. But and again, I'm just going back to those values. If you don't identify those values, you can get lost in that very easily.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's really important, right? Making sure that modeling is huge, right? How you interact, because your kids are going to model that, and that you can take that even outside of sports into just every day. However, you're interacting with teachers, that's probably how they're going to interact with teachers. How you interact with people at the store is how they're going to interact with people at the store, and to strangers and to people, everyone in between, right? Like if you're respectful, guess what? They'll probably be just as respectful, kind of thing, and they'll learn from what you do more so than what you say to do. And so that's really important here. But it's with when we're talking sports, it's we want them to get the most out of it, right? But when we're causing interference in that, we're shooting ourselves in the foot at their growth and whatnot. And again, I talk about it a lot. I think that kills the love of the game for a lot of these kids. For a lot of kids, they quit before they even get to start having fun with the game as they get older and whatnot, because it's just ruined for them. It's just absolutely ruined for them before they even get to a spot to where it is really really fun.
I actually have a story I can share with that.
Yeah, of course.
It's one of my parenting, I don't call them failures, I call them learnings. One of my parenting learnings. My oldest son, it was right before about 2019. He started picking up golf, and he started to show some really just talent in the game. And I'm not a golfer, but I enjoy the game of golf. And so we went from, hey, come and hit balls with dad, to we're getting lessons, to we're going to go join tournaments, to you're going to make 50 putts before you go to bed, to we're going to be outside chipping 100 times. And I started, and at the age, he was only about 8, 9, 10 years old. And so I started pushing him. He won a few golf tournaments. And then at too young of an age, I started laying down this foundation of we have a college golfer here. We got to put this, we got to build this boy up. And eventually he came up to me as like, Dad, I don't want to golf anymore. And so that was it was burnout. I removed the love of the game for him. I turned golf into a job for him. And for crying out loud, he was 10, 11 years old. 12 years old was when he pulled out. It was like, man, like, what did I do? Now, the silver lining to that was that he transitioned and he started playing basketball. And so I kind of stepped back away, and I learned from my mistake there. And then what's happened for him in the past 2.5 years is he's taken those same skills that I gave him, and the hard work and the dedication to a sport, and now he's applying it to a sport that he loves. And so there's a kind of a silver lining there. But now he's fully dedicated, and now I have a dedicated athlete that he's 15, that instead of pushing, I get to guide. This past week, I told him, I said, you are not doing anything today. He's like, Dad, well, can I at least get an upper body workout? I said, no, today's a rest day. Like, that's the part where he is so in love with the game that I get to restrain him now and just kind of guide him along. It's kind of like the bumpers in bowling, right? Just keep him
Hmm.
aligned a little bit. But I had to learn that mistake early on with him for the first time, and now he's transitioned, and now it's a game I love, so it's actually benefited me.
Right. No, I love that, and I think that's important too. Like that's another really good thing to talk about here, right? Well, first you made me think of that. When you're talking about golf, you made me think of this story that I'm pretty sure I heard it when I lived there, but I'm sure you're. Are you familiar with the story of Kyle Quilla using? Quilla Oozing? Okay, so it's a really, really cool story. But basically, he was a world ranked junior golfer, like right when Tiger Woods was coming up. He was right there with Tiger. He got into a situation in high school. He was just a couple months out from graduating in high school, and he was getting offered scholarships, and just a few months away from going and changing his life forever, right? Going from the tiny island of the big island of Hawaii in Hilo to going big time, being right there with Tiger Woods on every single stage, every single tour, and being right up there with him, if not better than Tiger Woods. He got into trouble in high school. He did something to a teacher. They expelled him. And then his whole life turned to a life of crime and drugs and addiction and just everything like that. But when he talks about his story, he lived on a golf course in Hawaii with his grandfather, and he would just jump over the wall every morning. He would get up. Like one day, and this was, I'll use the story again later, but we'll talk about burn. I want to use the story again with like motivation and whatnot. But one day he won one tournament when he was like 10 years old, and then he personally realized, oh, you know what, I got something here, right? Like I'm gonna be the golfer from Hawaii. I'm gonna be the kid, kind of thing. Like I'm gonna be everything. And then he found a lot of motivation, things like that. But that's we're getting to that part. But the the busyness of keeping our kids busy, right? Of wanting them to stay busy all the time. That pressure to stay busy doing sport A, sport B, sport C, extracurricular one, two, three, all the time. So their schedules are just packed non-stop to where they don't get a break, where they don't get those times to be told to, you're not doing anything today, because our kids are young, right? They don't feel the pain that we feel after going for so many days in a row, right? They don't have those lingering sports injuries, right? They just get to pick up a ball and play. We get to stretch out for an hour and then, play for 20 minutes and then recoup for a half hour and then play for 20 more and then call it good for the day. But, it's important to make sure our kids understand the value of rest, right? of resetting, of relaxing, right? And that's, I think, finding the balance of, as a parent, finding the balance of supporting our kids, right? Because we can push them all day, right? We can push, 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 and get them to that point. But then you look at what happens, and they're crying about being drafted in the NBA draft by a team they just didn't prefer to play for, which is another thing I want to talk about later. I'm jumping all over the place here, but finding that balance, like you're talking about here, is so important because our kids need to feel that, right? Because they don't want to look at you and be like, Dad just pushes me and pushes me and pushes me and pushes me, and I never get a day off. I never get to have fun. I never get to relax, and I'm just always, always going and going and going. And gosh, it feels like my parents just hate me.
Yeah.
What other ways can like parents find that like balance of like support?
Sorry, can you repeat that again?
What other ways can like the parents find some of that balance of support with their athlete?
Yeah, and so I think it's age appropriate, when they're younger, and younger for is that elementary age, sixth grade and under. Um, and that's balance of kind of nudging versus pushing, right? And we talk about that in the book there, but is you kind of have to let them feel out everything. And that's one thing that we've seen in the research is athletes who do multiple sports when they're younger end up finding more success. Right now, we are in a specialization where kids are specializing earlier and earlier and earlier than they ever have before. And there's no current data that I've seen that supports this, but the NBA, that's one of the things that I've seen regarding the NBA and the Achilles tears, is people
Mm,
are asking, I don't know if they're the answer yet, but the asking, is it because we're specializing so much earlier that now you're having Achilles injuries later? Again, I don't have the data for that, but the question I've seen, does specialization create more sports specific injuries than before when kids were doing flag football to baseball to bicycle with their friends, right? They weren't
swimming
so
and things
doing
like
the
that.
same repetitive motions.
I think I've seen some research on that thing what you're talking about right there, right? Because you're maybe it's not like official research or anything, but I think there's a lot of links to that, right? Like it's also common with baseball players, right? There's a lot more early, like high school level, like Tommy John surgeries. There's a lot more college Tommy John surgeries. If you don't have a Tommy John surgery before you even get drafted, are you even like a real pitcher kind of thing? But no, I think that early specialization I think it's really bad for kids, right? Like, yes, they could be uber talented and just have a natural gift for basketball or baseball or football or whatnot, right? But I mean, look at a guy like Deion Sanders, how great he was because he had two sports that he was great at, right? Or look at a guy like Mookie Betts, who's just good at everything. He touches any
Right.
ball and he's good at it, right? I think Mookie's a great example. But it's hard for these kids because their bodies just get overtrained in some areas, but then they go to do something else. Like you see some basketball players, they can't throw a baseball to save their life, or football. They can't throw a ball. They can shoot with the best of them, but they can't throw at all, kind of thing. And I think that's really bad for a lot of kids because they don't get to experience like if your kid only plays basketball their whole life, they're gonna be indoors a lot. They're not probably gonna not like going outside as much. So I think there's links in other places here that just makes sense. With that being not a great thing.
And I think again that goes into what is your purpose, right? Because if your sole purpose is so that they go play college or even professional, if that's your big goal, professional, so I was done playing when I was 25, and Alex, he was done playing when he was 35. Well, we both are hoping that we have a lot more life to live. And with that said, now it's like, what are we going to do with our life? Because I just can't throw a basketball or throw a baseball or shoot a basketball or kick a soccer ball my whole life. Like, and again, that's where the other aspects of what youth sports really brings is so beautiful and what it can do for these students or these athletes. I'm a principal, so sometimes I call the kids students,
Gotcha. Yep.
but these athletes, right? Like, there's so much more that they can get out of it. And you'll hear HR managers and owners will talk about, they love hiring people who played high school sports or college sports because of the teamwork, because hard work, the perseverance. But our parents who are guiding our young kids get so caught up in the other things. I mean, sorry, in the sports specific stuff that they lose out on everything else that youth sports brings. And I think that's for again for Alex and I, that's so important that you don't lose that in that. Now, again, I hope that every parent who buys this book, their kid goes and becomes a college athlete. Like I have no problem with that.
Absolutely.
I love playing college basketball. It's the best time of my life was playing college basketball. But I got two boys, and one is a deep desire to play as long as he possibly can. And the conversation I have with him is, "Hey, bud, I don't know if you're going to play college basketball. I know you want to, but the reality is only 2% do.
Hmm.
So I'm not stuck on you being a great college basketball player. I'm stuck on you being a great man, and that's important. That's the most important thing. And listen, I would love for him to be a great basketball player.
All right.
I don't want you to think
Like
I'm
in
sitting here
here,
going,
no, like no, no, I get what you're saying. Like we as parents, we can easily get mixed up like in projecting our own like opportunities. Like, oh, I had so much fun doing that, so I want my kid to experience that same thing, right? Of like collegiate sports or things like that we experienced. But also the opposite happens is, oh, I want to live vicariously. You're a principal. I don't know if that's the right word. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I want to live through you, my child, to accomplish the dreams I never got to, right? And then push them that way. And I think that's what happens a lot too is that they try to live through we try to live through our kids in some ways versus letting them like live their own things, right? Because when a parent says this, oh yeah, it's my goal for little Timmy to play in the MLB someday. Okay, like 0.1% of anyone to ever pick up a baseball bat plays in the MLB. Like 22,000 people total have ever played in the MLB. Maybe 24, 25,000, whatever, right? But it's like have played in Major League Baseball. Thousands more have played in minor league baseball, right? Like there's a high A team here where I live and some of those dudes are 25, 26, 27, right? They're still chasing. But it's like, dude, you're still in high A at 27. Maybe kind of thing, right? But they're chasing because they love it, right? That's what they love to do. That's what they want to do. But like, only so many people get to those levels, right? And ultimately, it may not be their goal. It may not be what they want, what the kid wants. It may be the parents what they want, but it may not be the kid's ultimate goal. It could just be like the kid just wants to have fun. They just want to play ball. They just want to enjoy themselves. They just like doing it because it's like fun and teammates and they're kind of good at it. So they have a spot on the team and they get to compete. They like the competition and it teaches them something. It keeps them busy, kind of thing. And honestly, it probably just keeps mom and dad off their back in some aspects too, doing it.
I think one of the biggest mistakes that parents make is when we take our passion and make it our children's burden.
Yes.
You know, we become so passionate about their success that it's now their burden. One of the fun parts about parenting that I'm currently in with my oldest son is he is so passionate about the sport that my role for him is just guiding him. I'm no longer encouraging in terms of, hey, did you work out today? Hey, did you shoot today? Hey, did you do this? And when an athlete or your child does that, that's when you know as a parent that this is their journey. It's not your journey anymore. And that's an exciting place to be at. And I will say, if your child isn't at that place, especially when they start getting into that high school, you have to start having some real expectation of what success is, right? Success might not be if they're not passionate about the game as they're entering high school, especially sophomore, junior year, and you're the one that's making them do things. You have to reevaluate what's going on. Is your passion for them now becoming that burden for them? And I think a lot of parents are doing that, and they're just setting themselves up for failure. They're setting their kids up for failure because you're just dragging your kid along instead of letting them set the pace.
Yeah, and then we can get into a whole conversation about intrinsic and extrinsic motivation, which brings me back to the whole idea with that I had with talking about Kyle. The golfer here is that he won like a 10U tournament or something. And the next day, he set his alarm. He got up at the butt crack of dawn and he just went hitting golf balls. Every day he would go and he would get up really early for his age. and he just found that motivation. He got the taste of it. He won one tournament, and in his head, he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna be a millionaire. I'm gonna make it out of here. I'm gonna make it out. I'm gonna do my mom proud. I'm gonna do that." He found that motivation in himself, right? Like, but our kids have to find that in themselves, right? We can't force it. It has to be found. What they are motivated by has to be found by themselves. We can't force it. They'll find it, right? We all are motivated by something different, and our kids will find it eventually.
And I think as parents, especially in those younger ages, putting them in different opportunities so that they
Hmm.
can find what they're passionate about is real important, right? And then giving them opportunities to be successful in those moments is important. But I would also say allowing them to fail is important. A lot of parents do not like to see their kids fail, and a lot of them will then prevent them from being in situations to fail. And that's one of the things is I've been around youth parents a long time. And again, it's because of the goodness that they have where they want the best for their children. And seeing their child fail is really difficult. But I just had this conversation with my wife, shoot, maybe about 3 weeks ago about one of my boys. And I told her, I said, hey, we need to start putting him in situations where he can fail more often because he really likes to win and succeed, and so we need to put him in situations where he has to overcome. And that was a conversation I had with her because we want to put adversity in front of him. Because if we can do it in a safe environment, and safe environment, he's going to fail. And then at that moment, he comes to us and we're going to help him navigate that failure. And that's really important as a parent. Excuse me. I had one of my best story or favorite stories about my oldest son is, and this was the moment where he started to take basketball serious was after this moment. And so he's in an all-star game and he gets the ball and they're down one with about 18 seconds left. And he steals the ball. It's a 2-on-1 fast break. And he's dribbling and the right basketball decision, not taking in consideration time and score, was to pass the ball. And he passed it. The guy fumbled it away. They ended up losing the game. And so he's devastated after the game. And I walk over, I give him a hug, and he's holding in his tears. He gets to the car and he just starts bawling. And he kind of lets out, I wouldn't say a yell, but just like an anger sound.
Hmm.
And then my wife goes, "What's wrong?" And he's like, "I was scared. I was scared." And then she was like, "No, it's okay." And he's like, "I lost the game for my team. I lost the game. It was my fault. It was my fault." He's just tearing himself down. And so my wife does the mom mode. And it wasn't your fault. Everybody had opportunities to, uh, he missed a layup and he missed a free throw, and it's a team sport. And he gave him the mom talk, right? And I'm sitting over there, and then it's my turn. I said, "Son, your mom's 100% right. You didn't lose the game. However, you missed the opportunity to win the game. And that's what hurts for you because you were scared to take that opportunity." And so I go, "Bud, now you have a choice. Do you like this feeling?" He's like, "No." I go, "Well, good. We can make sure you never have this feeling again. One, let's quit basketball. Let's never have this. Let's never put yourself in a situation where you're going to be crying because you felt like you lost a game. And we don't have to do this anymore." I said, "Two is you can do nothing about it. And next time you're in this situation, you're going to do the exact same thing and you're going to cry about it. But I'm going to tell you, don't cry about it because you already were in this situation. You did nothing about it." Or I said, "The third is we can continue to work on your game. So next time you're in that situation, you're not going to be scared. You might miss, you might make the wrong move, but you're not going to be scared to take advantage of the opportunity." I said, "But we're not going to have this feeling again. That's up to you." So he thought about it and he goes, "Dad, I never want to have this feeling again. What do I need to do? What do I need to do to get better?" And so that wouldn't have happened without adversity. That wouldn't have happened without the pain, and all of that went into it. He had to fail hard, but mom and dad were right there with him where he wouldn't go into depression. He didn't go into all this, right? He didn't have to, he failed. We're there. We navigated with him. And he said, "This is what I want to do next." And then we took that journey with him. And so, youth parents, you have to allow your children to fail, be there for him, walk him the journey so he doesn't have to have that again. And too many parents are afraid to see their kids fail.
Yeah, but failure's good. Failure is good. If they don't fail and they're always in a success driven environment, right, where they're always really good, they're always the best kind of thing, right? Then you get to a situation like, and I hate to say it, not really, but you get to a situation like Ace Bailey in the NBA draft this year. You get a big sense of entitlement develop. And I'm not saying Ace Bailey's not a great player because he is. He is really, really talented kid. But you can tell, and with a lot of these kids going into the NBA, a lot of these one and dones, I think the one and done rule needs to be completely stripped away from college basketball. I think it's great. I think it's exciting, right? But I absolutely think it needs to be stripped away from college basketball. And there's reasons for that, but mostly because it's like football, you have to wait 3 years, right? For college football. Baseball, you have to wait 2 years for college baseball. Basketball, you only have to wait one. I think you need to be two as well, or make them all three, right? No matter what sport you're playing, you have to go through 3 years of college before you get to go pro. I mean, then you're still only 21. You're still super young, but then you're more mature and things like that. But regardless, you get to an Ace Bailey situation. And you can tell by just the look on his face and how his camp was saying, don't draft me. Don't draft me as a top 5 guy in the draft kind of thing. Let me fall so I can go to somewhere better than your team. And it's like, what in the like you are part of the one like less than 1% of people who ever get drafted to play in the NBA, let alone top 5, let alone get generational wealth at 19 years old. But yet you're going to go up on stage and you're going to just be entitled about it the whole time and be mad about it like a little brat and then not report right away to the facility, not sign your contract right away. Same for these second round NFL players, which makes more sense, right? They want some security, right, in those rookie deals, but that may be their only contract and their only opportunity to earn, so you got to capitalize on it and things like that, right? But like, at the end of the day, like, don't just be mad and whatnot. You can tell that like Ace Bailey's never been in a position to where he didn't get what he wanted on the court, or he didn't get what he wanted out of the team, or out of the coach, or out of those situations, and you're talking about your son. If I'm a coach, right? I'm a college coach. I'm personally going to want your kid on my team. Me that can be coachable, that's moldable, that wants to just improve and not have that feeling again. So he's just better. Not the kid that comes in thinking, oh, I'm already a top 5 pick in the NBA. I'm only going to be here for a year and I'm out kind of thing. I'm just here because I have to, because the G League sucks or the Ignite League or whatever it is garbage and won't actually get me to where I want to be. And I'm too scared to go overseas because I don't have enough control of that situation to come back and whatnot. So I'm just going to come to your school and play for a year and then I'm out kind of thing. So I really think that's where it leads is when we don't let our kids fail. And that goes back even further, like you're saying as well, like put them in other situations, put them in other sports that are going to be hard, that they're not gifted and talented at right off the bat. Let them struggle, let them fail. That's good for them. It's good for them to not always be the best. It's good for them to be one of the worst and to learn how to deal with that and to overcome that and to work harder and to refine and get better and along the way too. So, good thing.
Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah, I have I've helped a couple of my high school basketball coach as well, and helped a couple kids get recruited and go play college basketball. I remember a conversation I had with a coach. And so this is for the parents who are listening, who know their kid's going to play college sports, right? And they
That's
know they're part
all
of
of
the
them, of course.
2%. And so this is the conversation I had with a buddy of mine who coaches a college program. And he said, Kevin, I know he can put the ball in the hole. He said, every kid I see can put the ball in the hole. He goes, what makes them different? So I said that, I go, kid's the hardest worker in the gym. I said, you will not have to worry about him working hard. I go, two, he is a great teammate. There's going to be no drama. You're not going to have to worry about him fighting. You don't have to worry about anything like that. He's a great teammate. Third, he's an academic All-American. He will get a 3.5 every semester for you. And then four, he comes from a great family. So those are the things. None of that has to do with basketball, but every single one of those have to do with his character and who he is. And so you can focus on all that basketball stuff or that tennis or that baseball. But there's those elite kids, right? The Ace Baileys of the world. They're the elite, right? They have the DNA, they have that. Okay, great.
They have it. They have
They
it,
they're
right?
gonna get it. They have it, right? And then there's a lot of us who are athletic, but not superbly athletic, that are skilled, that are talented, but there's a lot of you out there. And it's those X factors, and a lot of them can be character-based X factors that if you focus on when they're young, about being a great teammate, about looking the coach in the eye, about doing everything the coach asks without question, because those are going to translate when they're in high school. About when you miss, how do you respond? Right? You miss a layup. How do you respond? If you're training that second, third, fourth grade, so by the time they're in high school, they're responding the correct way. Coaches know that and they see that and they're going to recruit that compared to the guy who misses a layup and walks back on defense. Right? The guy who hits a a line drive to shortstop and then jogs it out to first. But if you train in first, second, third, fourth, that you go hard no matter what, that's going to reflect in when you're in high school. And so that's, like as I start this book off, I always say, hey, if you're trying to get your kid a college scholarship, and this isn't the book to tell you how to do that, but at the end of the day, this book will help you because we're telling you, hey, instill those values. How we can walk through this and motivate your kids and move them the right way. And so I don't want to minimize what we've done because again, Alex and I have both been college athletes. Um, but there's that balance there that if you do the little things now as a parent, you're going to see the fruits later.
Absolutely. It's like, you're as a coach, right? When it comes to baseball, right? Do I want the kid that can throw 100 miles an hour? Absolutely. But do I want him more than the kid that maybe throws 92 but has a crazy work ethic, can put on muscle, can build up to 98, right? In a year or two with good training and nutrition and stuff, and he'll discipline himself and whatnot versus the kid that throws 100, knows he can throws 100 and he's just like the shit after that. And then beyond that, he just has no work ethic. He's lazy, doesn't care and whatnot. I'm probably going to take the kid that throws 92, that has the values, right? That has the ethic, that has the drive kind of thing. Am I going to take the super flashy shortstop that makes every play just look amazing? Or am I going to take the shortstop that's really good across the board? Maybe, a 55, 60 across the board in everything, and fundamentals are sound, right? He's the first one up the field every day. He's staying after. He's talking to the infield coach. He's taking extra reps. Maybe he's taking reps at another position just to get a better feel for, wherever he's playing, right? Just to understand, okay, if I'm shortstop and he's second base, maybe I should take reps at second doing the same thing so I know where I would want it so I can deliver it to him versus the kid that's just like, oh yeah, I can make any play. I'm flashy. I hit pretty hard and things like that. I don't need it kind of thing. Like you look for the intangibles and whatnot, right? Like the things that can't necessarily be scouted on paper, right? How you respond and how you respond to that adversity. Like there was a who was it? It was someone I was watching for. It was Noelvi Marte, former Seattle Mariner, right? A couple years ago, he was playing in Everett with the Aqua Sox. This is before he got traded for Luis Castillo. And no joke, I was at a game. I was watching him here locally, and he something happened, and he threw an absolute fit on the field. Like he threw an absolute fit. He threw his helmet. He got really upset just because it was a bang bang play at first. He got really upset. He threw his helmet. He stormed off the field. Do you think he played the next inning in the field? No, he didn't. He did not play the next inning in the field. He was taken out of the game. This is a professional minor league baseball game. And then weeks later, he was traded for Luis Castillo. And now he's a big leaguer a few years later for the Reds. But, I remember that. I was like, oh my gosh, this is such a bad look. Like, I'm not even on the field. Like, I'm just here. But all the little boys that are in the field just saw this professional baseball player do that. Someone that was highly touted, a top prospect for the Mariners, just throw a temper tantrum, middle of the game. Like, you got to be better. You got to be better than that. But that's what it leads to, right? How you handle the adversity shows up later when you're on the field, when you're in those moments. It's like, shoot, hustled it out. let me get back, get to the dugout, grab my glove, grab my hat, get back on the field, get right back out there kind of thing. There's still 20 outs to get in this game, 18 or whatever.
Yeah, and I think especially when you talk about teams, you're either you're a teammate who's adding to good culture, or you're a teammate that's taking away from culture. And I think that when let's just get into the college recruiting end of it, coaches want great culture on their team.
Hmm.
And a team with great culture is going to win you a few extra games than maybe your talent allows. But a team with bad culture is gonna lose you some games that you shouldn't with talent. And I'll tell you this: you never want to be a coach who loses more games than you should because of your talent. 'Cause it's a reflection of you. And so, again, as you're building your kids up, know that those college coaches are really looking for, those kids with great character and hard work and all those intangibles, because there's always going to be another kid like you when it comes to on the court, unless you are part of that 0.01%. And hey, great. That's amazing. But there's a lot of us who aren't, who are all kind of fighting and scrapping. And again, that's what the coaches look for.
Absolutely. All right, couple questions, and then we're gonna jump into the dad zone here. I just want your quick take on a couple things. Travel baseball has gotten out of hand, in my opinion. There's too many teams, there's too many tournaments, there's too much going on, right? That takes away from the love of the game in its simplest form, right? Takes away from little league, developing through little league, going through that, going into playing like middle school baseball, going into playing high school baseball, and it just takes away from it. Do you think travel ball is slowly ruining like the next generation of baseball players, or taking, not ruining them, but
I
taking away from their overall development?
I will not blame travel ball in terms of the organization of kids playing. I will say that coaches need to be better at coaching. And I say that meaning, so you're a baseball guy, I'm a basketball guy,
Hmm.
but I've
Okay.
seen some basketball programs, travel basketball programs, that they're teaching basketball, and that's great. And do they travel? Yeah. But I've also seen travel basketball programs where they are saying, hey, we're going to take the 12 best guys we can find and go around and play. And it's terrible basketball. They're not learning how to play basketball. Their skills are being diminished. And I say skills, not individual skills. I'm talking about team basketball skills, screening away, cutting, hitting the post, learning how to play basketball. And so I think it comes to a coaching issue. And then again, I go with one of my keywords: defining your success. What is success? And I had this conversation with a parent the other day. Do I put my kid in the travel baseball team that has better players that he's not going to play on as much, or do I put him on the team that he's going to play on more but doesn't have better players? Right? And so as a parent, you need to walk in that, what are we looking for? What are we trying to get out of? And if you enter any conversation about the upcoming sports season with that, and, and then you're going to say, will we hit the goals we want out of this? So you said quick, I'm taking a little bit longer.
No, you're
So
good.
you might go, you know what? Um, this is my goals for these 3 months travel ball season. We're going to travel as a family, and we're going to see a bunch of our vacation is going to be seeing different parts of the state. Okay, that's cool. We want to compare our child's skill level to those around the state. Okay. And we want to, I don't know what else you could put, but those are your success. And we want him to play every inning. Right? Now you need to see, is this coach going to reach that? Is this team going to reach that for you? And so again, I'm not going to knock the organizations that are putting on them. To me, it's the coaches need to coach better. And then I would say the parents need to know, why are they doing what they're doing? Because if you're just putting your kid into travel ball because you think that's what everybody else is doing, you need to reevaluate. And so that's my approach to it, because I think different programs do better jobs than others. So,
Yeah.
anyways, that's
No, I can totally see that. I can totally see that. Where and I agree. Like it does comes down to the coach, right? It comes down to what your goals are like for your kid, right? Do you want your kid to get better during the travel ball season, or you want them to ride the bench, right? then maybe you don't go on the all elite 12U buttercup biscuits, with Hype Fire as their sponsor kind of thing. Maybe you go on like the 12U Rockets that are still a solid team, but your kid's gonna learn. He's gonna get reps. He's gonna get time in the field. He's gonna be able to go up there and play against the maybe better competition to him and get higher reps that are more meaningful to him, right? Or versus, I think travel ball and like baseball and AAU are very similar in that, right? To where some parents are just pushing their kids into these programs just to push them in because that's what everyone else is doing. So we got to get them on the team. We got to get them on the squad. We got to get them there because that's what everyone else is doing. And if you're not doing it, your kid's going to be left behind. And man, your kid's not going to get to college. Your kid's not going to get scouted. Your kid's not going to get drafted. You know, Uh, I think yes, some kids are getting recruited off of those, but I mean those are short seasons, right? Their actual school season's probably going to be a bit longer against more competition, probably better competition, seeing how far they get and whatnot. If they're like a state level team that's going to play against other kids in the state, they're going to play against a higher competition. They're going to get looks. Like the kids that are good are going to get the looks, whether that's from JUCO or D3 or higher up, right? Like the looks are going to come, whether that's at high school or at AAU. But you got to make sure your kid is doing the things to get those looks and whatnot to earn them, right? It's not given. Just because they're playing AAU doesn't mean there's going to be NBA scouts there or college
I
scouts
think
or
that's
anything.
the misconception of travel ball is that there's scouts out there.
Yeah,
And the window for them to make contact is very small for each sport. And a lot of parents don't realize that they're going to these AAU tournaments or wherever in Vegas or wherever you go, and the coaches can't even be there. They can't even make contact. And so you think you're going because coaches are going to be there. They aren't. Uh, that's and then now recruiting is so much different than it was 20 years ago when I was.
yeah. I was going to ask you about NIL and the impact of that on like high school athletes.
It's changed. It really has changed, and how you go about this, where you go play. I was listening to something where it's like, it's almost better to go to like a D2 and ball out at a D2 for 2 years, and then you're going to move to a D1 and get more NIL money than if you sit on the bench for 2 years and then kind of work your way up in a program. And again, it's perspective, but it's really changed the whole landscape of sports. I know a buddy of mine, he's coaching up at a D1, and he has a sophomore, going to be a junior guard that basically got poached. And the kid comes over to him and he's like, "Hey, coach, I want to stay, but they're offering me this much money." And the coach says, "Son, that's life-changing money. They're giving you more money than our whole NIL budget. Take it." Right? And so he went off to this Big Ten school, or I don't know, one of the big schools as a junior, and he's making more money than this smaller school. And it's a D1, but it's smaller. But it's changed the whole landscape of that. And recruiting's changed. Everything's online now. You can see kids, you can watch kids. I had a buddy of mine that was in a tournament this weekend in Vegas, and you could watch it on your laptop, the games, right? Like, so if coaches will find you and they'll see you. It's not always in person, but the recruiting landscape has changed. And see, that's the fallacy that I think travel ball parents are under, is that you're going to be recruited through this. Can you be recruited? Yes, you can. Is it the only way? No. Go get educated on how. And I don't know the way for baseball. I can tell you the way for basketball, but go figure out how. And then that's the avenue. And I can tell you it's not one way. It's not
There's
go do this.
yeah,
There's a thousand different ways. At the end of the day, get on the school's radar. And once you're on the radar, it's rebuilding a relationship.
yep. And then a lot of it, I mean, there's an element too of just getting lucky. Sometimes you just get lucky and you fall into the right situation. You're at the right place, right time, but you got to set yourself up to be in those situations, right? Maybe that situation is there's a camp, right? That this former NBA players putting on, but it conflicts with travel balls or conflicts with the season in the summer kind of thing. But man, this NBA player, he used to be really good. He was actually like a solid rotation piece. He actually played at our local university. That's a D1. And man, some of it does really come down to who you know kind of thing. And then like that you said, you get on the Raiders, you build a relationship after that. You could have all the talent in the world, but they're gonna be like, well, you took no time to actually try to get to know us. You took no time to do your part. You want us to do all the work, and we do part of the work, but you didn't reach out to us. You didn't really show us you wanted it. You didn't show us you were hungry. So we're gonna go actually with this person over here. He was hungrier. He wanted it more. He desired it more. He fought harder for it. He was sending us films and tagging us in every single thing he did, and live streamed all his high school games, and put us there in the stands with him. He sent us his stat trackers and things like that, and did all the things and uh, whatnot. So it's cool. It's cool. The game has changed. The game is different, but um, regardless, anything else that you want to mention here, and then we can jump into the dad zone. This is going to be quick questions, and we'll wrap this thing up.
Now, I mean, really, we have our book, and so Guiding Your Child's Guiding Your Child's Athletic Journey. It's on Amazon. We are on Instagram. You can find myself and Alex on there. He's Alex Compton, USPH, and I'm Kevin Dalafu. You can see us there. And then we also have an Instagram called Parent of Athletes. So yeah, really cool. We have an audio book that just launched too. And so those who love podcasts, you can listen to it. That audiobook is kind of fun because we are reading the book to you. So we got to do that together too. So it's cool.
All right, well, into the dad zone we go then, real quick. Just to wrap this thing up, I would be let's just say an angry mob would gather if I didn't take you into the dad zone with me. So, first question here in the dad zone: does pineapple go on pizza?
Not my pizza.
Perfect, love it. Now it's not on mine either. Don't worry. Who are three people, dead or alive, that you would like to invite over for dinner?
I'm gonna keep it with sports.
Perfect.
I'll go with Kobe Bryant. I'm a Laker fan. I'm gonna go. I'll just stick with all Lakers: Kobe, Shaq, and Magic.
Love it. Love it. I'm a Sonics guy. I'm from Seattle, so I'm probably
Oh,
going Ray Allen, probably going Gary Payton, and I'm probably bringing in. I loved playing with him in NBA Live when I was a kid, but Nick Collison.
well, I
Nick,
didn't even say Sean Kemp. You might as well just said Vin Baker.
nah, Nick Collison, our old school power forward. That
Oh,
dude
I
could
remember Nick.
shoot.
He played at Kansas, didn't he?
I think so. He got down. He was a dude. He was a
Hey,
dog.
he was. He was.
He was an
No,
absolute
all those
dog.
guys were studs too. Vin Baker was a stud when he was at
Hmm.
Milwaukee. Sean Kemp was a stud at the Rain Man. So yeah. So no, that's fantastic.
A lot of great memories seeing some guys back in the day at the old Key Arena. Bring them back. Bring them back. Um, anyways, well, second last question here. What is your guilty pleasure food? You were an athlete once upon a time, but I know you got a sneaky food that you like to sneak every now and then.
You know what? I love me some ice cream. Just give me a bowl of ice cream and chocolate chip will work. But I mean, if it's ice cream, I'll have a bowl of that, please.
Love it, love it. And then last question here in the dad zone, and then I'm gonna officially wrap this thing up, get us on our happy ways. What is one piece of advice that you would offer to a new dad, age 18 to 22, that's just starting out his fatherhood journey?
I would say enjoy the journey. It goes by faster than you can imagine, and take the time to be intentional early and often. It'll pay off later.
Love it. I love it. Well, Kevin, this has been awesome. Maybe we'll have to do it again when we get Alex on the screen as well with us. But until then, fathers, everyone listening, this episode is your reminder. You don't need to be a perfect coach or the loudest voice on the sidelines. What your child really needs is you to be engaged, supportive, and values driven. If you are inclined, guys can go to wisestlearners.com, correct? And pick up the book. Let me put that up on the screen here, and I'll show the people. And then you can, of
You can
course,
also grab it
connect
on
on.
Amazon.
Perfect. I'm assuming it's on Kindle as well.
Yes, sir.
Wisest Learners on Instagram, website Wisest Learners as well. So, listeners, make sure you guys do the things. It's right there as well. It's a beautiful blue book, nice, beautiful white lettering with a little bit of yellow. Can't miss it. Fantastic opportunity for you to grab it. Make sure you guys don't forget to follow the show, leave a review, and share this with a coach or dad or both, a coach dad, or maybe one of those softball moms that could really use it. We know about those softball moms and how crazy they get, or a sports loving teen in your life. So until then, we'll see you right in here next time on the Young Dad Podcast.